Yeah, so we will also record the session. The session will be about storytelling, and it's interesting. We know each other already, several years now, and many times I hear that. Well, basically, one of the key elements of Toyota, of the success of Toyota, and of the development of the lean production system at Toyota, and the success of Toyota. A major part is communication and communications within the company. There is a lot of communication at Toyota. That's many times what you're saying, and many people say it's a lot of waste, but you say, well, it's not a lot of waste. And to do it effectively is important. And to do it effectively, then storytelling becomes an important issue. To give good stories and to tell a story so that you are able to tell in a couple of minutes what's going on in your project, what are your plans, what is your proposal, that you can do it very quickly and in a focused and in a good way. And you worked several years also in the Hoshin office, and you were involved in teaching managers within Toyota, teaching how to use A3 and the A3 format. And some time ago, I got from you a PowerPoint, which you sometimes used for later on to explain people about storytelling, about using A3 or developing an A3. So that's the topic of today. And I'm happy that you're here and you will guide us through the story of making a good story. And I would like to give you the word now. So I'll jump to the next slide.
Okay.
Oh, wait a moment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Isao Yoshino. As Yanis already talked about A3, and, we at Toyota people just started learning A3 writing documentation probably in the 50s, 1950s, a long, long time ago, maybe 70 years ago, before I just joined Toyota. So by the time I joined Toyota, A3 documentation is very, very popular. And so today I'm going to share with you why it is so popular, why it is beneficial, why we stick to this A3, while other companies in Japan don't, think this is so important. So this is a great opportunity for me to explain what A3 means to us. And this first page, page 2, shows the major characteristics of A3. Actually, I put down 3 items. And the first one is A3 is the size of double size of A4. So you're already familiar, right? So it's a pretty big space. So you have a lot of space. You can put so many. You believe I can put so many data and information here. However, it's so important that only the most important items should be on A3, because the space is still big but still limited, because storytelling requires a lot of smooth flow, and only focusing on the most important key things. So the most important thing should be on A3. In other words, you're not supposed to unnecessary wording or data on A3, because put just most important key things on A3. That's so important. And in order to select what is the most important thing, what is less important, you will do that before you start writing A3. You're gonna do sorting out process. That is one of the 5 S's, sorting out what is necessary, what is less necessary. So that is the beauty of this A3 documentation. As you see, number 2, the visual representation. This helps to understand the content at a glance, because if you communicate verbally, then people just cannot find out what he or she is going to talk next. However, if you if you show these document beforehand, or just if you uh, put those documents to everybody attending, then people just go through that quickly from the left-hand corner to the right and bottom. Just go through that quickly while you're talking. So that visual representation, this is really helping you understand the content at a glance. So that's the beauty of that visualization. Number 3 is that this is another important thing. Again, A3 is a very, very useful tool for communication, just like Yanis said at the beginning. Communication is so important, bosses and subordinate and among subordinate or between bosses. So A3 can play a very, very important role to communicate. At the same time, this is a great tool for the managers to coach, to train, to nurture your subordinate using this A3 or using A3 opportunities. So this is, I will show you why I keep saying it's important. Next page, please.
Yeah. Next page. I also got.
Okay.
I also got a question about the slides. I think the slides will be made available afterwards. So afterwards, the students get and all the attendees, they get the slides. The whole presentation will take about 3/4 of an hour or an hour, and after that there is room for asking questions. So use the chat function when you have a question, and when after about 1 hour we will go through all the questions. So, but please continue. So A3 as a communication.
Okay. As you see on this page 3, on the left-hand side, take a look at this is a big picture. So there's 5 steps. Okay. Step 1 is, as you see, clarify the purpose. What is the purpose of this A3? On the right-hand side, details. I will go through that later. But step 2 is based on the purpose, you develop a scenario, the story. Scenario. You say something first, the second, this one, third, that one. So those scenarios. So it is so important. That's step 2. And based on that scenario, step 3, you determine the layout on the A3 document, which information, which group of information you're gonna put on which corner, left hand, right hand side, how big it is. You decide the layout of the group of content. That's step 3. Then step 4 is describe the content. So when you put this layout, then you're gonna describe. You're gonna put all those comments or wording in that space. That is step 4. Then you finish all these layout and put all those comments, content in that A3. Based on that, step 5, check the entire document. Because when you working on each step, of course, you're working so hard and you believe, oh, okay, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. However, after you finish put everything, then you have to view from a little bit different, from a little bit distance. Take a look whether the layout is okay, the story flows smoothly, and you put the right thing and the right timing, and what is the expression, what is there any data missing or something like that. So step 5 is so important to check the entire document very closely, and then if you are fine, then you can use that A3 for whatever reason it is, what is the purpose it is. So this is a story of this today's session. Okay, next page, please. Then as you see on the frame, the red frame, I'm gonna discuss a little bit the detail. Next page, please. Okay, this is step 1. Step 1 is clarify the purpose. Clarify means there are several purposes of A3, and not necessarily per items. One is decide for whom, to whom you're going to use this A3. And is you're using this A3 to you use this A3 to your top executives high up there, so they don't know so much detail, but they just run the company. So it depends. What you're gonna put in this A3 depends on who you are talking to, or general managers a little bit low, not lower, just very high ranking, but top of the employees, or uh, younger generations or outside people. So whatever you put, you have to find out who you are targeting to, and also you have to know how much are they familiar with the topic. If they are totally new, then you have to use very simple and easy to understand, wording. But if they know everything, then you can go more directly. It depends. Then what are their major interests? Because if you try to, put something on the S3, you have to know what is the people's the major interests, what they would like to know from me, from you. So that's so important. And again, just like I said, the content will vary depending on who you present it to. Number two, decide the situation. Situation means, and if is it going to be one-to-one? If you just talk with the bosses, just one-to-one, so just nobody there, so just you can go into details, or big presentation as a group or the conference, or outside people. Then outside people don't know so much about your job sometimes. Then so the content will be different. So you have to check whether under what kind of situation you're gonna use this A3. And then again, who will make A3 presentation? Yourself or your boss? No, not your boss, but your subordinate, and you check. So it depends. Number three, decide the purpose of A3, because there are basically 3 or 4 different purposes. One is status report. When you start something newly, then at a certain timing you have to report it to the bosses and your members, and to check and to share what's going on, whether it's going smoothly or not. That's status report. Or another thing is the problem solving. If you have some problem, you have to solve it. So you're gonna focus on how to solve this problem. And also another thing is a project proposal. If you want to start something totally new, then you have to make sure that people will clearly understand what you are trying to explain, and why you are bringing up this new idea. So depends. You have to clarify the purpose of your A3, and based on that purpose, your A3 is should be prepared in a certain manner. And also, do you expect your boss to make a decision based on the A3? Then if you want to just share it with somebody and just expect them to just know that, or if you want your boss to make some decision, then you have to prepare you have to just tell them, you have to put some, okay, this is, I would like to invite your comment, invite your approval or not, whatever. So it depends the purpose on the purposes. And number 4, decide the message you want to convey with this one. And because what is the most in this H3, there is so much space, but still, what is the most important items you want to focus on? And so in order to make them really understand the message, what you want to convey very completely, you have to use the most appropriate title, most appropriate expressions. Okay, this is the basic idea. Next page, please.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about step 2. A little bit detail about the step 2. Okay. Number 1 is decide outline and focus. And in this case, these are kind of important. As I said, regular. I already explained this, but regular status, then you have to prepare, at a certain good timing. So if it's every month you have to make a status report, then you don't have to repeat the month before, or a little bit. But if you do that every 3 months, then you have to explain a little bit more about in the past 3 months. So it depends, and so that is also important. And also this is another important thing. As you see, is your report fact based? Because many people use the data or something as an assumption. Sometimes I believe or assumption I heard, but it's not fact. So fact is so important because the fact talks itself. Number two, problem solving report. Because this is you already have some issues. Then you have to develop you have to analyze it, you have to develop and countermeasures. Then you have to set up some action plans. But most important thing is the root cause is so important because it's not the surface cause, but underneath the surface you have the root cause. Without getting rid of that root cause, then same thing will gonna happen. So it's so important that you focus on root cause. And another thing is that the target. Sometimes target is not so much clearer. We want to improve this. It's not enough. Improve from where to where, 80% to 90%, or something like that. And also expected result. Sometimes we have to grow more. We have to something like that. It's vague, then it doesn't make sense. So you have to, show some react what kind of result we would like to see. So problem solving is very, very, you have to be so serious because you already have some issues, you have to solve it. And another one, number three, is a project proposal. This is something that you would like to bring up, something new idea, some new idea, or so what people don't know the background, people don't know anything about it. Then you have to explain why you believe your proposal is important. You have to just make a story go smoothly, and using, as you see, is a reason or a background is should be clear. And the second one is a concrete and the practical action plans, and should be prepared. And also at the same time, when you propose something new, many people in Japan, many in other companies, many people just prepare the new proposal only with so many rosy picture, good things, good results can be expected. This is great. So they only put all those rosy pictures on the document, but the decision maker becomes so worried about, oh, okay, you can start something new, but this is something you never experienced before. So what are the possible defect, possible hurdles you have to clear. So you have to include foreseeable hurdles, foreseeable problems you might run into. Then if you put it in there, then it's very, very good A3 because you already take a look at this good size and bad size, and also you are very flexible. So this is so important, particularly in the project proposal. Next page, please. And okay, this we can talk about basic scenario, but you already know about it, but just let me go through that quickly. This is a case of problem solving. What are the steps? You already know that, but let me go through that quickly. First of all, number one, on top of it, background of the problem. What are the key problems we are facing right now? And number two is current condition that which brought about the problem, because problem is clear, but what has brought the problems? What are the causes of the problem? And again, this is cause of the problem should be focused very deeply. Based on that, number three, establish a target to attain, because you have some problem, you want to get rid of it, then what kind of situation you would like to see after you implement the plan. That's number 3. And number 4 is think through the root cause of the problem. Because if you want to see the target, then you have to get rid of the root cause of the problem. And so in order to find the root cause, it is very natural that you have to dig down very, very deep about the problem. So you have to analyze it and very deep until you reach the root cause. Root cause means real cause, not on the surface cause. And then at the same time, number 5, you develop out countermeasures. That means plans, action plans. When you're gonna do this, when the next month you're gonna do this, and those are concrete counter plans. And that's the planning stage. Then number 6, implement the plan as you originally you scheduled. Each month or each week, whatever. Implement the plan as scheduled. And number 7, evaluate the result. Because when you implement a plan, sometimes you get some good result, but sometimes you cannot. So you have to evaluate whether you have a good result and the process was okay. If you cannot get a good result, then you have to work on that. You have to find out what are the reasons why I cannot get a good result. So you have to analyze, you have to evaluate. And based on that, and number 8, the next step is ensure when you just evaluate all the result and the action plan, everything, then you summarize it, and the next step ensure that not the same problem is going to happen again. So it prevent from the same problem from happening again. So these are the major stories of problem solving. I believe you are quite familiar with that. I just wanted to double check. And next page, please. And then step 2 is again a developer scenario. And actually, I put a supplementary, but actually this means detailed data. Because when you put some data or something, it should be very concrete data. In other words, numbers, and it is very vague, general expression. Then people just get not a big picture. So you have to make it very clear that if there is a numbers there, you have to put those numbers. And so you have to check whether the data is sufficient, appropriate, and you have to figure out what kind of data you're going to use. And the second one is the supplementary data compiled through Genchi Genbutsu approach. I don't know whether you are familiar with this Japanese expression, Genchi Genbutsu. That means you go to the Gemba, go there and take a look by yourself, by your own eyes. Talk to the people and find out what they are struggling. Not you figure out on the telephone or report, but you have to talk to them face to face. That's Genchi Genbutsu approach. So data should be, you have to get it very, very directly. And also supplementary, okay, the data you're gonna use is a best fit plan. If you find some data from somewhere but does not best fit to the purpose, it doesn't make sense. Of course, it's natural. And number 3, after you just put all those necessary data, then verify, or you have to check all the entire scenario from the top corner and the bottom corner, and you have to check whether the scenario goes smoothly and convincing. And that is a very important thing. So when you finish creating the document, you have to check, because you are the presenter. So you believe you know everything. However, the people who will hear your presentation sometimes new to you, to your presentation. So you have to check whether your your A3 document is very, very easy to understand and also logically consistent. And also on the bottom, check with A3 convincing to the person who you are talking to. Again, if you're talking to the big shot, then if you use too much detailed data, sometimes top management don't know. So you have to find out, we have to know that who you are talking to. And so you have to double check whether your A3 just best fit to the people's need. So those are key things that we have to keep in mind. Okay, then next page, please. Okay, then we are going to step 3. Step 3 is now scenario is ready. So the major story is ready. So then the next page, we're going to talk about this detailed plan how to make this A3. Next page, please. Okay, this one is decided entire layout. So now you have all the data and expression. Then you have to make some entire layout on A3 document, as you see over here. On the left hand side top, maybe title on the top, then starting point on the left upper. So what you have to mention that this is the purpose of this one. You have to explain what is the purpose of the document, and so you have to allocate the space in within this A3 document space. Allocate certain space to this item and another item. So you have to, put the layout. And if you believe that you want to explain a little more, information, then you have to get a bigger space. It depends on the situation. And okay, that is what I put number 1. Number 2 is I put the main title. Whenever you put some data or actually data or chart and expression, then you have to put some title, very easy to understand, short title, because people just going through all the information on the A3. So you put some very easy to understand titles, then that will greatly help them to understand the entire story. And that is so again, this you view from a little bit far on the A3 and you allocate the space. Then next page, please. Okay, then describe the content. It's the same thing, but next page 13, please. Okay, these are I didn't put anything, but this is again, this is a little bit detailed about which item is which. Okay, so as you see, main title on top, and on the left hand side, people just look at this document from left hand side all the way to the bottom, then go to the right hand side top and the bottom. Our eyes go through that. So you have to put all the key things in each key title, very simple and concrete, not too long. And also, only only sentences, too many sentences, sometimes, make people just, people just don't get lost. So sometimes you have to put some data or chart and very visual document or visual data should be input so that you don't have to explain. Just like you see, these are chart. You don't have to explain that it's upward or that the circle is just how many percentage, but so you don't have to explain this. It's very important to use all the chart or graphs and the visual to gain some visual impression. And also right hand side, as I said, sometimes you want to impress more. Sometimes you put a bold a font or a little bit larger font, so that because the people are just while you are making presentation, people just go through from left hand corner, right hand corner, go round and around. So if you put all those bold or a large font, then that is what you want to impress them. Then, okay, this guy is want to convey this is important. So very easy to see and good visibility and easy to understand, nice layout, and your intention just flows from left to right. That is so important. So visibility is very, very important. And okay,
may I ask a little question? Just a little question in between. So
far, yes, please go ahead. If you have any questions.
Yeah, step 3, determine the layout. So then you determine the layout. And then step 4, you describe the content. Why not in the other way that you say, well, we describe the content, and then based upon the amount of things we want to tell, we create the boxes. Do you have an answer on that, or do you understand my question?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yes.
Yeah. It's so important because the layout first. Because if you put some certain space, okay, on one item, and then in your mindset, okay, I want to put this fact, 3 or 4 in this box. You will figure out in your mindset. Then based on that, if you want to put 3 key information, then you will figure out how much space is needed. So you're going to work on that in your brain before you start writing. So you have to figure out in your mindset what are the information you're going to put in here. So based on your plan, then you figure out the layout. I mean the size of the box. So that's so important. And sometimes the people just don't care about it. Okay, I'm going to write it down. I know everything. Write it down. But they don't prepare anything. Whatever you start something, but you figure out what are the major flow. What are the key concepts I have to put in this stage? You have to figure out in your brain based on that work in your brain. Then you put some space. You allocate some space. That is, just like you put some plant in your backyard. If you plant some like eggplant, for example, then if you plant eggplant, maybe 20 eggplants trees, then you have to take some space. So you plant it. If you buy just 10 eggplant trees from the market, then you figure out how many space I need for this eggplant, 10 plant. So something like that. So you have to figure out what kind of layout, how big the space is necessary for this document. Then you start writing. So before you start writing, you have to do that in your brain. So that kind of practice is important.
So it's basically, and determining the layout first is basically also a kind of thinking exercise.
It is. And also while that thinking, if you have your partner, then you can talk with your partner. Okay, this is my plan. I want to put in the 3 items. Then your partner say, oh, remember, how about this one? You have to add this one. Then maybe not instead of 3, but how about 4? And if you can, you can talk to your boss. Boss, that this is just a rough layout. I'm going to put this in here. What do you think? Sometimes we do that within Toyota. So it's not that you prepare everything and finish everything without nobody knows about it and bring it to the meeting. No, we just sometimes from time to time, if necessary, we share it with other people. We bring in somebody and bring them in the team, and then you prepare. And that will really, really help other people to understand. And also, if you miss something important, they will advise you. So that, again, this is part of another benefit of the communication. And it's not within Toyota that, of course, we subordinates prepare something, but very often they just, talk about, boss, just what kind of layout do you recommend? Or this is my plan, but what do you think? So always, not always, but very often we communicate with the bosses before we start writing, and because you can learn something from your boss, because your boss is in many cases much older, lot of more experiences, so they can give you some nice idea. Then for the bosses, the big benefit is that boss can train his subordinate very efficiently by working together on this preparation. So it's, A3 is a very important tool to coach your subordinate. The same time for you subordinate side, it's very important to get some hint from your bosses. Also to put some information beforehand to your boss before you finalize everything. And so within Toyota, we do that very often. We don't have any barriers between boss and subordinate, in generally speaking. That's why A3 becoming prevail across the company, because this is very important, very good tool to use, a very flexible manner.
Yeah, this class is about storytelling, but when do, for instance, with problem solving, when do people at Toyota, when are they starting with the A3? At the end,
Actually,
give a
okay.
presentation, or already at the beginning, they
Well,
have a
actually,
kind of
for
framework?
one of the most important things that if something happens, then you put all those, all those key facts, the defect, on the table, and then you discuss about, okay, these are very root cause or the surface cause. If you believe that, okay, we have some surface, this is the surface cause, we have some root cause, but we don't find it yet, then if you can discuss about it, then you dig down. So we always discuss first, and two is better than one, three is better than two. So always we discuss about it, and also together it's a teamwork.
But
And if
during the problem solving process, you already use the A3.
sometimes, but sometimes it's really some, if there are some the time is limited, then not necessarily A3, but you just have keep in mind and just discuss about it. When you have all the key information available, then you put it in A3. So it depends on the situation. So A3 is sometimes is used for the more for the kind of meeting, and when you have find some solutions, then it's a great opportunity to collect ask everybody to get together and share A3 together. So A3 is not really the you prepare at the beginning. No, at the beginning you just talk and sit down, discuss, and put down on a blackboard and write it down, and those work. And so through those work, all the key information is now collected, is now coming together, getting together on the same page. Then it's easier for you to prepare E3. So there should be a certain steps to prepare E3. That's why I keep saying that step one, step two, step one, step two is so important. Step three is now all the data is available.
Okay. Then step 5.
Yep. And step five is also important because you know everything. When you prepare a document, you know everything. However, it does not necessarily mean that people who are given this report does not necessarily know everything. So you have to check whether this title is okay for the people who don't know much about this issue. So you have to check all the title, subtitle, and the data is correct, and also the chart is appropriate, the story is good, and you have to check whether anything is missing, anything important is missing, and so you have to check. So you look from a little bit far on the A3 and take a look. The layout is okay, and the data is enough, sufficient, and anything is missing. So what again? Check process is so important, and by doing so, you can train yourself to become a good writer, and to make a A3 document more efficiently and much easier for other people to understand it. If you skip this step, then okay, I finish everything. Then you start express, you know, make the presentation. Then people just keep asking very basic question. Then you have to go back to the basic, so you cannot go through this one. So it's so important to check. Just like you start working, you get out of the house, when you just put the shoes and everything, then you have to check. You have to look back whether you carry everything, your bag and the shoes and the pen and everything. So the same thing, you have to check at a certain timing properly. Then you step forward.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking that question. And
Yeah.
okay, these are the examples. So appendix. So this is the example. This is Yanis was so kind to find this one, and so this is uh, the flow of the problem solving, because they use all the chart. And so particularly problem solving, you have to put all the key facts and also relations between this incident and that incident. And so what sometimes, more data is important than the expressions.
Yeah.
And next, so this is an example of the problem solving, and this is a new proposal. Okay, I think I used this one. When was it? 2014, long time ago. When I went to Memphis, Tennessee, in the United States for the lean concept, and in 2014, the year before, I went there and did a session. So we have some lessons learned from that session. So based on that learning, I prepare this A3 document for the next year, which is 2015, because my partners in Memphis, Tennessee, they just started discussing about only verbally get together, and I was not involved. But when I heard all those status, then I could not understand what's going on, and so that they did not proceed anything. So just I have no choice. So just okay, let me send you my A3. Don't think this is perfect, but this you can take a look, and you guys, and I told the Memphis guys, you guys just go through this one, and I am not saying this is good, but maybe uh, it might be helpful for you. So these are the things that if I am in Memphis, then I will go through. Uh, I will prepare this type of thing. So I sent this A3 document in while I was in Japan, and send it to Memphis, and hope that they will just have a discussion based on this. Actually, they did. So again, there's no chart, no nothing on the right hand side. It's a schedule, because this is a plan based on the last year's review of the result. I I found out this is good, this is bad, this is good, and this is bad. So I just, based on that approach, I did a study. I put up all the comment right there on the left hand side. Then right hand side, new proposal. What are the new focus, and what are the time schedule? Because they don't discuss about timetable, and so and then they like it. Even it does not necessarily mean that they use this every single day, but this was gives them a hint for them, to think about what kind of approach they have to do that, because they keep talking verbally, and so no progress was made. So this was a small trigger for them to do a new session in 2015. This is another example. This is a Hoshin Kanri document. So this is not proposal. This is not update meeting, but this is Hoshin Kanri document. So Hoshin Kanri is a certain format. You must have noticed there are so many words, but this is too much. However, this is my style, and this is my own personal Hoshin document. So what I would like to say is that I put all those Gothic. That means the key information. And I have 3 different area: health, lean, and energy, which is the university I used to work. So 3 area, I have 3 area uh, um, activity in the 3 areas. Health, because I'm getting older and older year by year, so health is so important. That's why I put this number one and priority. Then lean activity, there are so many items. Oh, this is again, this is not perfect, of course not, but this is when we share this with other people. I don't have to explain this. I just send it to them. Actually, this is I sent it to Yanis a long time ago. Then Yanis does not have any questions to me because he went through that. Oh, okay, this is what Isao is planning to do. And if he has some question, then he asks. So it's I don't have to. We don't have to spend 1 hour to go through this, but I just send him. So this is one of the examples of Hoshin document, and this is very useful for me, and also very useful for the people working together with me because they know what I am trying to do this year based on what result of last year and what is the timeline. And so this is maybe too many words, but uh, I'm so familiar with this. But I would like to recommend you to use less words, and this is too busy. But I just wanted to show you what is my own personal. This is my personal Hoshin
But
because I
this,
do that. Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting that you say, well, in A3 there is a problem-solving A3, but there's also an Hoshin A3 which
Yes.
tells you what are the big issues you are going to busy with in the coming year,
Yeah.
and what are the targets, what you want to realize, what are the actions, and also the timing that's in this scheme. And
Yes.
that's all done in A3. Is that also is it everywhere done is that taught in Toyota that people have
Oh
to
yeah.
do that,
Oh yeah.
managers have
Well,
to do that
actually,
in
within
A3?
Toyota, yeah, this is my personal one, but within Toyota, all the section, all the department, they have their own department Hoshi.
And that's an
And
A3. That
A3,
is,
yes, A3, similar format, yes, A3. So they are so familiar with preparing the end of the year and then start new year with this one. They are so much familiar. And so they are so used to developing this. And so whenever they get together on a hosting meeting, then they just make a copy and share and bring it and distribute. And the day before, then people just go through that. Then they just can start directly. Just okay, item 5, item 6. They can start discussing about it. So this is very very useful for the most efficient meeting. Of course, it requires a lot of time to prepare this. However, if you are so used to this, but it does not take so much time. So it depends on how you like it or not. And
yeah,
so I will, if you guys are interested in creating this type of simpler hosting document, I will be very happy to join you to do that because this is fun. Well, it's not fun, but it's a beneficial.
I also think it's very important to have to support the communication within the company, so that
Yes.
every manager is telling the same story to all the managers.
Oh, yes.
Because the A3 they still use the same A3, eh?
Right. And they just exchange their history with each other.
Yeah,
And so you don't have to just go through okay, that guy is now focusing on this one. And so what, you don't have to get together, but sharing all this one. So what, this is a very, very useful communication tool. And and Toyota is one of the very few companies in Japan who are so serious about this. And we are so familiar with creating this. So it does not cost us so much, not money, but so much time.
yeah.
And once you just you create one thing, then you will know what is important. So it
What,
looks too much.
yeah, what do you think about uh, you know nowadays we have PowerPoint, we have all kind of means to give a good
Yes.
presentation and to. So if we have to present, we normally make a kind of PowerPoint or.
Yeah, it depends. When you just make some proposal, of course, A3 is fine, but also you can use a PowerPoint. But when you use a PowerPoint, when the speaker is explaining page 15, that you don't remember what was on the page 2, because you cannot flip back. But A3, you don't have to ask, just take a look at everything. So A3 is very easier, but PowerPoint, but you can use in many ways on PowerPoint. So the both tool is very useful. So it depends. But PowerPoint sometimes you takes longer pages. But but you don't have to select. You don't have to do two essays. Select what is important, less important. You don't have to select it when you the PowerPoint. You just add one more or two more. But when you prepare A3, you have to select, and you have to select the most important thing. So approach is different. So you can train yourself to develop both A3 size, select important thing, and the PowerPoint, put most important thing one by one. So it's either is fine, but in order to have more, efficient meeting, I believe A3 is more useful and not easy to do, but it's easy to understand, and so easier to bring people's mindset into one direction.
Yeah. To make an A3 is not simple, but can you say something about how people at Toyota or how new people at Toyota are trained in doing and making an A3?
Oh yeah, and so okay, this I'm showing this my own hosting. This is too detailed, so don't try to copy this. But A3 is most important thing that you try to develop A3 first. Anyway, you try it first. Doesn't matter whether it's not perfect. Nobody is perfect. My document is not perfect. So many stupid things on here, but it's okay, because you put it, then you already select what is important, what is less important, and you don't put the less important thing on the document. You put only important thing on the document. Then you learn how to select it. So I would like to recommend you to try very simple A3, Hoshin Kandi, or a new proposal, or problem solving, or even whatever, try A3 first and see what happens. And many people who criticizing in Japan, they don't start anything, just complain. Oh, the Toyota people are stupid because they spend too much time preparing A3, waste of time. It's not waste of time, because you do so much brain work while you're creating this A3.
And that helps communication a lot.
Yes, I agree.
I think the floor is free for questions, but I think the presentation was very, very interesting. I got that Rick Huckstede. I'm not sure you're willing to tell us a little bit about it, but you are saying, well, it looks like the Harada method. Perhaps you can say a couple of words about the Harada method, Rick.
The Harada method is a book made by Takashi Harada and Norman Bodek. I think you know about him. And this Hoshin Kanri, it looks similar as the Harada method, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's also the Harada method. It's also something like sorting out and to being specific. Isn't it?
Yeah. And you can be very in detail, and also with like this Hoshin Kanri with a planning. I think it's very useful. I can recommend for everyone to read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that I heard about Professor Harada when I was in the Netherlands. In
Yes.
2017, I was in, yeah, and somebody just said about Harada methods. I did not know that. So he told me a little bit more about it. So yeah, so then that's nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
Professor Harada, yeah.
Jim
yeah,
Lippens, he wrote
I
the
think,
version of it.
Rick?
And maybe you know Jim Lippens. He wrote the
Yes.
Dutch version of it.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the Harada method is also very useful to keep focus. And I think that what you were explaining with Hoshin Kanri, I think that's also keeping focus. And
Yes.
it helps you not only for a story for other people, but also for a story for yourself. Eh?
Yes.
I think that's the Harada method.
oh,
Are
Thank you.
there more questions? I will just show you the first. So as a summary, that you are saying, well, step one, yeah, clarifying the purpose. If somebody has a question, please put it in the chat. What is the most difficult step in your opinion? Isao Yoshino.
oh, okay. Oh,
What
okay.
is the
You
most?
asked me.
What is your experience from people from Toyota? What is the most difficult step in
Well, actually,
preparing a story?
well, step one is not difficult because when you start thinking, oh, I'm gonna develop A3, then you have some reason to do so. So step one is not so difficult as long as you have some energy, you have some intention. And step two, this is some problem because scenario, because you know something, but creating some very efficient, the good scenario so that everybody can understand what you're talking about. You believe this is fine, but sometimes people don't understand what you're talking about because that in that case scenario is bad. Scenario does not flow good. So creating scenario is the most important thing, and sometimes you run into some problem, and because scenario is when you create some scenario, you have to think about who will be listening to, who you are talking to, and again, I already talked about it. Who you are for whom? If you talk to the total stranger, then you have to use a very simple, or sometimes you have to too simple and the scenario is very simple and short, and so step two is a very is a critical place, and as long as you pass through this, then it's not too difficult. But again, as I mentioned earlier, the bottom step five. Many people, when you spend so many hours to develop A3, then you are so happy. Oh, I finished this. But that is not the end. That is going to be the starting point because you're going to use that later. You're going to use that A3. So you have to double check whether the A3 you have developed is easy to understand or convincing, or all the key data included, and the story is good and the space is okay. So you have to check everything from the bystander viewpoint, not from your viewpoint, because you know everything. So not from your point, from somebody's point of view. So that is another good training for you, because you view things from somebody else's viewpoint, which is not easy, but it's a great opportunity and a great chance. And I think that is it's not a training, but it's a kind of hidden purpose of training yourself. And again, as I mentioned earlier, when you start creating scenario, then you have to think about it. What other story should be? So it's not that you start writing those steps, but you, in your mindset, you think very deep. Then when you find out some stories in your mindset, then you start writing. So brain work will start before you start handwork. And that is the beauty of this A3 documentation. So you do that, it's invisible.
Well, thank you. I think there are no more questions, but okay. I would say there will be, on the chat, there will be an evaluation form. Please fill in the information form which is in the chat. As a concluding remark, I would say, well, this was about storytelling, and what the students are going to do in their minor projects is also storytelling. They are going to work with an A3, and they're thinking about this problem-solving scenario they will use in their project. But what I also hear from you is that, well, A3, you can use it everywhere where you need to tell a story. So it's not only needed for problem solving. You can also use it in your personal life when you go to a place where you have an interview or where you have to present something and you have to tell a story. Then use an A3 to organize it. Is that a good suggestion?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You don't have to limit to only to those 3 items, but there are so many ways. And don't pay too much attention on the formality. And because, thinking about something, then you have to put it down in the writing. That process is so important. Only thinking something, doing nothing does not create anything. So you're thinking something, but put it into practice and see what happens. Those processes is a very, very good step for you to develop yourself.
So that you say, well, when you have to present a story or when you have to present something, also write it down. Use A3.
Oh yeah, that is exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, before I joined this session, I'm working on some lessons learned, the failure, success stories. So many things come into my mind. So that I spend so much time, I've spent so much time thinking about it. Then I put it there in writing. Then my hand now start knowing what I would like to convey. So writing, using your hand, writing is not only writing, but it's telling your brain that, oh, this is what you want to tell other people, right? So you're talking with yourself, you're asking yourself, you're communicating with yourself. So that is very, very important. Many people don't recognize it, but that is very, very important. So I keep learning from myself.
Yeah.
And so, but this is great. So I really recommend you to put down something in writing, not necessarily A3. On small memo is fine, and put down in writing, and then see what whether what you have written down makes sense or not. So writing, that's so important.
Do story writing before storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
That's first story writing, and then storytelling. So
story writing in your mindset, then writing, and see what happens. So just brain and hands, then take a look, your eyes. So maybe 3 steps or 4 steps. Then you can develop yourself.
Okay, I would like to thank you and also like to thank all the attendees for being here. And I hope you will get the PowerPoint. I hope you will look at the PowerPoint when you are preparing a story. When you think I have to present something, that you check all these things. And I wish you a lot of success, everybody. But thank you very much, and see you soon again.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.